Jerry Lee Lewis was born on September 29, 1935, in Faraday, Louisiana, a small, dusty town pressed between pine thickets and the slow-churning Mississippi River. From the outset, life dealt him a mix of grit and divine touch. His parents, Elmo and Mamie Lewis, were dirt-poor sharecroppers. They sold eggs, worked odd jobs, and still managed to scrape together enough to buy Jerry his first piano, a paid for by mortgaging their home. That piano would become both salvation and curse. By the time he was 10, Jerry could play with astonishing flair. His fingers danced across the keys in ways that startled adults and thrilled children. He watched his cousin Mickey Gilley and friend Jimmy Swaggart, also budding musicians, and the three of them soaked up blues, honky-tonk, and gospel like parched earth drinks summer rain. But Jerry's way of playing was different, rowdy, untamed, and bursting with something primal. The church didn't know what to do with him. He could tear into hymns with a fire that stirred entire congregations, but his style felt more honky-tonk than holy. Once, while performing My God is Real at a revival meeting, he pounded the keys with such flair that his cousin Swaggart declared it blasphemy. Jerry simply shrugged. "If I'm going to hell for playing it this way, I'm going anyway." It was a sign of things to come. After a short-lived attempt to attend the Southwestern Bible Institute in Waxahachie, Texas, where he was expelled for performing boogie-woogie hymns, Jerry hit the road. He played roadhouses, juke joints, and greasy clubs across the South, sometimes for pennies, other times for food. Wherever he went, he left a trail of empty whiskey bottles, wild stories, and stunned audiences. His left hand thumped out thunderous bass lines, while the right summoned melodies that ran from blues to classical. His voice, a growl lined with honey, wrapped around each lyric with swagger and fire. People didn't just listen to Jerry Lee, they felt him. He cut demo tapes in New Orleans and Shreveport, but it wasn't until 1956 that he rolled into Memphis and knocked on the door of Sun Records. Sam Phillips wasn't in, but producer Jack Clement let him audition. Jerry played crazy arms and whole lotta shakin' going on. Clement recorded the latter and sent it to Phillips. The fuse was lit. Whole lotta shakin' goin' on didn't just chart, it exploded. By the summer of 1957, Jerry Lee Lewis was everywhere. The song was wild, sexy, and unmistakably raw. Radio stations hesitated, but teenagers couldn't get enough. The record soared up the country and pop charts alike. Jerry played standing up, kicked over piano benches, ran fingers through his wild blonde hair, and pounded the keys as if exercising something dark and beautiful. Then came Great Balls of Fire, which catapulted him into the stratosphere. But the very thing that fueled his fire also threatened to consume him. At 22, Jerry Lee married Myra Gale Brown, his 13-year-old cousin. The scandal broke during his tour of the UK in 1958. Reporters, once smitten with his devilish charm, turned vicious. The marriage wasn't just controversial, it was career suicide. Bookings dried up. Radio blacklists followed. Television producers canceled appearances. In the span of days, Jerry went from crown prince to pariah. The years that followed were lean and bruising. Though he continued to record for Sun, sales plummeted. His marriage to Myra remained a constant source of criticism, and his public image morphed into that of a man untethered from convention or shame. He played dive bars, often for meager wages, and grew increasingly reliant on whiskey and pills. Yet even at his lowest, Jerry Lee remained electric on stage. At a time when many of his peers faded, he kept touring, not because he wanted to, but because he had to. His recordings during this period showed artistic range, if not commercial success. Ballads, gospel songs, and even country-tinged tracks revealed depth and sorrow rarely associated with the wild child of rock and roll. Songs like "I'll Sail My Ship Alone" and "End of the Road" felt like confessions cloaked in melody. Marriage to Myra fell apart by the mid-60s, the inevitable result of betrayal, jealousy, and violence. Jerry married several more times, each union more volatile than the last. Children were born, some tragically died. Chaos, by now, was more familiar to Jerry than calm. Just when it seemed he would fade into memory, Jerry Lee Lewis re-emerged as a country star. He signed with Smash Records and began cutting country tracks that climbed the charts with astonishing speed. Songs like Another Place, Another Time, What's Made Milwaukee Famous, and She Still Comes Around reintroduced him to a new audience. The wild piano man had transformed into a whiskey-soaked baritone crooner, telling tales of regret, loss, and back-alley love. The records were raw but polished, infused with pain and years of living hard. Between 1968 and 1971, he scored 17 top 10 hits on the country charts. Nashville, which had once sneered at his recklessness, now opened its arms. He played the Grand Ole Opry, though he broke rules there too, playing longer than allowed and using profanity during the broadcast. Jerry didn't change who he was. The world simply caught up. Despite the success, the shadows never left. His fourth wife, Jaren Gunn Pate, drowned under mysterious circumstances in 1982. His fifth, Sean Stevens, died of a drug overdose just months into their marriage in 1983. Though no foul play was confirmed, questions lingered. His son, Jerry Lee Lewis Jr., died in a car crash at age 19. Earlier, another son, Steve Allen Lewis, had drowned at age 3. These losses broke something inside Jerry. He drank more, fought more, lashed out at everyone, including himself. He suffered from ulcers so severe that he underwent multiple surgeries. At one point, he was given only months to live. Yet he defied predictions and kept playing. The music, always the music, remained his one refuge. Even when his hands shook or his voice faltered, he climbed onto stages with fire in his eyes. He married for the 6th time in 1984 to Carrie McCarver. The relationship was longer, though equally troubled. They had one son, Jerry Lee Lewis III. In 1986, Jerry Lee Lewis was among the first 10 artists inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. His appearance at the inaugural ceremony was met with standing ovations. He wept. For a moment, decades of scorn and exile seemed to dissolve. He released Last Man Standing in 2006, a duet album with legends like Mick Jagger, Bruce Springsteen, and Jimmy Page. Then in 2010, Mean Old Man followed, pairing him with Eric Clapton, Ringo Starr, and Sheryl Crow. Both records debuted to widespread acclaim. Yet even as his legend grew, his health declined. He suffered a stroke in 2019, which left him unable to play piano. Still, he managed to attend public events, including his induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2022. That same year, on October 28th, Jerry Lee Lewis died at his home in DeSoto County, Mississippi. He was 87. Jerry Lee Lewis was never easy to love. He cheated, lied, raged, and broke rules with abandon. He left behind broken marriages, lawsuits, bitter relatives, and headlines that shocked even his fans. But he also left a trail of music that tore through conformity like a locomotive. He didn't fit into boxes. He leapt from genre to genre, rock, country, gospel, blues, and left scorch marks in each. His stagecraft inspired the likes of Elton John, Prince, and Bruce Springsteen. His sound, half possessed and half divine, became the model for rebellion. To hear Jerry Lee Lewis perform was to witness something raw and wild, a man possessed by rhythm, unafraid to tap into his darkest corners for the sake of a lyric or a chord. Whether he was screaming through Breathless or crooning on Middle Age Crazy, he gave every note like it was his last. When he died, it wasn't just the end of a career, it was the closing of an era, the last breath of a generation that rewrote what music could be. Jerry Lee Lewis didn't ask for permission. He kicked doors open. And for those who came after, He left behind a piano bench still smoldering.